everybody. Welcome back to Tina's Tea. Recording a little late as per usual. Let me get the bummer stuff out of the way first. No like real bummer stuff. It's just, I did want to mention that, well, first of all, I did not do any knitting this week, aside from maybe 5 minutes when I was on Knit Night last Monday. There just has not been an ounce, a second, how do we measure time? A second. We don't measure time in ounces, Tina. Okay. Anyway, Groucho is so disgusted with me, she just walked off. She was like, "You're too stupid. I can't be with you." So yeah, there's been no knitting. There have been dreams of knitting. Every time I walk by my stash, my heart is just full to bursting, and I'm like, "Oh, I want to put those two yarns together. Oh, I want to knit a shawl. Oh, I want to do this. Oh, I want to work on the whips that I have." But that's just not going to happen for a while. Because, and this is the most wonderful thing ever, excuse me, you guys have just completely overwhelmed my shop in the most wonderful way possible. I honestly, since I went full time in 2020, I don't think I've ever had such an incredible freaking week. I mean, you blew the doors off the barn with this one. Like, holy guacamole. So, I had initially decided that every order for the Charlie yarns was going to get a blueberry stitch marker because it just so happened that I had a little pack of 10 blueberry charms. I really did not think that there were going to be so many freaking people into this. And I guess, part of that, I really have to thank Miss Autumn Eden Goodman for that, because if it wasn't for her being nasty, I think a lot of people still wouldn't know I exist. So, what's that quote about, "You meant it for evil, but God meant it for good"? So, thank you for being vile scum, Autumn. You're doing the rest of us a favor, truly. I hope other people on the list have also benefited from her vile actions, because, let's face it, it's not like they did anything wrong. So, here's a stitch marker in case you were wondering. I have it hanging from a bobby pin, just so that you could see. I'm not quite sure what the millimeter measurement is, but it should fit. I'm just looking at it. It should fit like up to a size 8 or 9 needle. So, a friend of mine actually asked if she could have one just to put on a necklace. So I'm going to be sending that out to her tomorrow. I think you've all seen the yarns by now. And I did remember the swatches this week, so thank you very much. This one is the latest one. This is Levels of Done Previously Unimaginable. It just occurred to me that I forgot to bring Legacy of Light over here. Did I forget? Is it over? No, it is not over there. I don't think I even know where Legacy of Light is. I may have put it away. Wherever away is these days. I'm gonna be real honest with you. This place is like a fucking zoo for yarn right now. So, anyway, that was Levels of Done Previously Unimaginable. And then we have Stochastic. The fun thing about Stochastic, and I don't know if I mentioned this when I talked about it, which this was my Makeover Monday yarn for last week, so I can't stop burping. I am so sorry. I just ate dinner. It's after midnight, and I'm a mess. But I have a good attitude, and that is my superpower through all of this. I might be working 18-hour days for the foreseeable future, but I have a damn good attitude, and I am fired up, and I am not quitting. So, the fun thing about this is that when I tied it off, like this isn't like my usual tie-dyed yarns where they're usually evenly spaced, the ties. This one I have the ties clustered closer together towards the brighter parts and then farther apart towards the darker bits, just to, I don't know, I guess emphasize the contrast. And I'm not sure how well that really translates when you knit it up. But then again, I've only knit a swatch with it, so one of the many people who has bought it will have to show it off and let me see how it looks in a different context. which I am so excited to see what you guys make from all this stuff. And if you don't make anything with the yarn, if you're just buying it to buy it, that's totally fine. I'm not judging you. A couple people have mentioned that they just want it to sit in their stash forever, and that is totally understandable. We also have budget for blueberries. Not going to be camera. Not going to be color accurate because my lighting situation. But it's got a pink base, and it's drizzled with purple, and it's flecked with blue, and this might be one of my favorite yarns to dye, actually. It's just, I feel like it just really captures, the innocence of childhood, but also the sadness of losing somebody that you love so early on, and also the beautiful stories that we get told to mitigate the pain. We also have On a Work Trip with Jesus. This is another fun one to dye. I mean, honestly, okay, I think all of my yarns are fun to dye in one way or another, but I really, really have been enjoying dyeing these yarns, which is great because I have a lot of yarn to dye, like a lot. So I'm going to keep this relatively short this week, and I just wanted to kind of finish off by mentioning that I did try to watch the memorial today, and I have some thoughts that I wanted to share. So I know there's been, very heavy emphasis on Christianity, and, a lot of people are saying they're going back to the church for the first time in over a decade, or blah, blah, blah. They've rekindled their faith, and I think that is beautiful and wonderful. But for those of us that are, some people are atheists, or some people have a different spirituality or religion, I don't think that you need to be Christian to connect to his message, because at the core of his message, I mean, obviously he loved God, he loved Christianity, he loved his religion, but he also just really super duper loved his wife and kids. He loved his family, he loved his country, and more than anything, he loved speaking the truth, and he loved challenging bad ideas, and he loved, fighting lies, and, just challenging people. And I feel like so many of us, I mean, obviously myself included, I'm probably more guilty of this than anybody, because believe it or not, I know this might be hard for some of you to believe, because I don't know, some people think I'm like some kind of sass bag firebrand or whatever, which, well, I can be, for the most part, especially when it comes to people that I know in real life. I tend to be very non-confrontational and not aggressive and very conflict avoidant. And if somebody says something stupid, or if there's a lot of disrespect that has gone on in the past 15 to 20 years towards conservatives especially. And well, I'm not sure that I would still consider myself a conservative. I mean, I'm literally a card-carrying Republican. There's, I don't know what that silly card is for, but I tucked it in my wallet as like a little joke. So if I drop dead, they can be like, well, she was a card-carrying Republican. But it's so much easier to just, if somebody starts running their mouths about, conservatives are on the wrong side of the history, or blah, 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 conservatives this and conservatives that, and I found it easier to just cut people out of my life, because I was like, I'm not going to argue with you, you're just dumb. In retrospect, I think if a bigger percentage of us spoke up, especially at the beginning, and really said, that's incredibly disrespectful, and it's also a lie, and you're pushing a false narrative, and no, that's not what I think. Why don't you ask me what I think instead of putting words in my mouth? I feel like maybe we would not be in the position that we're in, unjustifiably in a position that we'd rather not be in. But the cream always does rise to the top, to quote last week's Macho Man quote. I won't do the impersonation again, I promise. But I feel like this was a lesson to all of us in how important it is to not let lies go unchecked, that we have to speak the truth, that we have to push back on bad ideas, that we have to correct people. And it doesn't matter if you think somebody has good intentions or not. If somebody has good intentions, they're actually probably the easiest people to correct because they have the good intention. They want to be good. They think they're doing the right thing. If they want to do the right thing and their eyes are open to the truth, then they will do the right thing. There are a lot of bad faith actors, and they should be exposed and pointed out and then shunned or whatever. But just constantly, you know, turn over the rocks and let's see who the grubs are. So I don't really know where I was going with all of this, except to say you don't have to be religious, you don't have to be a Christian to honor Charlie Kirk by speaking the truth and fighting for the truth and really thinking about what's best for, well, if you're here in America, I'm assuming you guys are pretty much all here in America, except for maybe like 3 or 4 of you. But, it applies to your country too. What is good for your country? What is good for the people around you? There's no reason that you should not fight for your best interests and your family and your country. That's literally the backbone of civilization. That's how we've grown and prospered over millennia. So anyway, thanks for coming to my TED Talk. It is now almost 12:30 and I am going to continue dyeing yarn and making stitch markers and all that fun stuff. So I'm also going to edit this video a little bit. And by a little bit, I mean play it back and make sure I don't sound too stupid. Am I forgetting anything? There was no knitting. I showed you the yarn. I showed you the stitch marker. I gave you a little TED Talk. My cat thinks I'm dumb. And I am going to just work. Oh! I don't think I mentioned. Okay, one of the bummer things I was going to get into. Because I have so many orders to work on, I will not have time this week to do Makeover Monday or Wildcard Wednesday, so I do apologize for that. Maybe next week, if I have time, I could do like a double feature or something, but I may not have the time next week either, because I do still have to crunch and get the Halloween Advent done, so it's just going to be a lot of 18-hour days in my future. But like I said, my superpower is I have a fantastic attitude and I'm fired up and I have all the determination in the world, and I want to honor Charlie just as much as anybody. And I also want to thank each and every one of you for supporting this, because there's a lot of darkness out there, but we can fight it one skein of yarn at a time. I think it's small, but it's mighty. Because not only are you honoring Charlie by helping donate to Turning Point, you are also supporting the creation of beauty. We are collaborating together because I make the yarn and then you make the project, and it's kind of like a little collaboration thing we got going on. And together we are making the world a more beautiful place. And I cannot think of a better way to honor Charlie than by doing that. So I hope you all have a wonderful week. Keep knitting, keep crocheting, keep weaving, keep smiling, keep telling the truth, keep fighting lies, and just know that I appreciate each and every one of you, and I'm heckin' grateful. So thank you, everybody. I'll see you soon.